Hi guys. So I'm just continuing this series of my fertility journey, and I have been contemplating that what are some of my key takeaways from my entire journey so far, and what are some of the things that I want anyone to take away from my journey, if at all, if it resonates with you guys. So I feel there are a couple of things that I have learned in my journey. Which I would highly recommend if anybody who is on a similar path, or even if you aren't yet ready to become a parent, but that's a goal that you have somewhere down the line. So here are my suggestions or takeaways. The first one is that be extremely mindful of your health. I have time and again spoken that health is wealth. And I'm not just talking in general about your general health and well being, which is extremely important. What I'm trying to say is that, especially when it comes to fertility journey, it's so important to fully understand your reproductive health. So, like I spoke in my previous video, there are tons of hormones in a woman body, and all of them need to talk to each other, interact with each other at different phases of our menstrual cycle so that everything can work in the right order. So I think it's so important that you get yourself tested. Even if you are in your 20s or early 30s or mid 30s or whatever timelines you have, I don't know your individual circumstances, but it's so important that you understand your reproductive health, where you lie. Maybe that might be a red alert for you that something needs to change, or you need to maybe soon start planning for a child. Or if you are not ready yet, you can look at fertility preservation options. So I think getting to know your body, especially your reproductive health, is so important. Don't live in denial. Don't think that if you are fine, if you don't have any symptoms, if you are getting your periods on time, your general health looks fine, then everything is fine. I think that is the biggest myth. And I was in that denial, like I spoke previously as well, that because I felt that everything is fine, I probably don't need any medical intervention. So yeah, it's very important that you understand and make sense of your reproductive health, how your hormones are, your FSH, LH, E2. I'm not a doctor, but because I've learned so much in last few months, I'm trying to educate people as much as I can on a side note. But yes, I think we as women have tons of hormones in the body. It's so important that you understand your reproductive health. And even for male, I think often people are under a misconception that if there has to do anything with childbearing or reproductive health issues, then it's generally the female partner. But that's not how it is. And if I go by the data and just by the stats, then 40% of fertility issues arise because of female, 40% arise because of the male factor, and 20% is unexplained fertility. So there's no such concept as women have issues and men don't have. Women have other kind of biological issues as well, which I totally agree, because like I said, we have a lot of other hormones, but that doesn't mean that men don't have issues. So this advice is for both male and female, that please take charge of your health. Don't be in denial. Get yourself routinely tested, and then visit your general gynecologist. Understand, educate yourself. Don't be in denial. And if you feel that, let's say, your fertility is declining or something else is going on, maybe you have other reproductive health issues, then please do take medical intervention. It's very, very important, right? So that was my first learning. The second thing I think, which has been extremely profound for me, is that I think, because growing up, I have been grown up in a very traditional sort of setup, in a traditional family setup, and I'm assuming most of us have been, wherein we feel that we get married, we have children, and everything goes smooth, and everything is hunky dory. But in real life, that's not how it is. And I remember I was reading an Instagram post of one of the gynecologists a few weeks ago, and she said that everyone, when they are pregnant, just says, hey, we are pregnant, this and that, but nobody really talks about the struggles, the challenges, and the setbacks, and how much time it took them to really have that real outcome. I think that nobody really talks about. Still, things like IVF, fertility issues, challenges, whatever they are, they're still spoken, behind the closed doors, as if it's a crime. And I'm not saying that go and divulge your personal details out there, but what I'm trying to say is that the more we normalize talking about things, talking about challenges, because these are real challenges, right? um, the more I think people would be open enough and people would be easy to talk to others about their journey. And who knows, you might just exchange information, you might get to know something about your fertility journey, some tweaks that you can make, some important piece of information. So, building a community is so important. So, for myself, for example, I've joined some Facebook groups where I can talk to like minded women who have been in similar situations, who are single women undergoing something like IVF and or egg freezing or fertility preservation, or maybe just a single mother by choice. They are planning to conceive a baby of their own. So I think having like-minded individuals is so important. It helps you to not only make informed choices, but also you have this feeling of assurance that you are not just the only person who is facing something challenging, but there are tons of women out there and even men who might be facing something similar. So it just eases your journey a little bit. So I highly encourage that talk to trusted people, advisors, communities, and let's just normalize talking about fertility challenges, and let's just not pretend that everything is hunky dory, because it is not. Okay. And I think one of my another biggest learning I have had from this journey is that I think when we think about family, we always think in a very traditional format. We think that you get married, you get married to the person you like or you love, and you have a child, maybe one or two kids or three kids, who knows. And life is smooth. But what I also realized is that it's okay that if, let's say, you don't have a plan A, which is the way you want life to be, it's okay to move to plan B or plan C or plan D. And what that means is that, let's assume if you are not married yet, and if you are a woman, there are ways that you can still, for example, using a donor sperm or a known donor sperm, you can still create a family of your own. And in Australia, for example, there's a huge big community around donor programs. Clinics run these donor programs. They do provide you counseling so that you fully understand the legal complications, the emotional and the psychological things. And so there are these programs. And for me, it was a big eye opener, because till that point, I had only thought that there is only one way of creating a family, which is, you find a partner, you get married, and then you plan to have a child. But that's not how it's supposed to be for everyone. And it is perfectly normal, it's perfectly legal. Uh, to think about having a different option. So if you are single, if you haven't met the right partner, and if you are really ready to build a family of your own, like I said, family can come in different structures. It's not generally necessary or mandatory that everything goes as per your plan A in life. If you want to have a child of your own, there are ways, clear guidelines, there are clear laws which support that. So it's perfectly normal to be a single mother by choice if that's the path which you feel is the right path for you to create your own family. And then, if let's say if you've had failed IVF attempts, or if your own eggs are of not that great quality, or if you have tried to get pregnant multiple times, but it has led to recurrent miscarriages, then again, I think don't get disheartened. There are obviously ways you can try to adopt for things like donor eggs. So in Australia, for example, the donor programs, be it donor sperm or donor eggs, are not done for commercial purposes. They are done purely for altruistic purposes, because you can't get paid for it. But there are banks which help with, and clinics which help with donor sperm, but also donor eggs or embryo adoption. There are clinic overseas as well, which for example, the clinics in Australia have tie-ups with overseas clinics that can help with that. Whether it's easy, absolutely not. Whether it's your plan A, absolutely not. but it's still a plan. And in last few months, I have seen interviews of so many women who have found great happiness and great contentment by choosing this path because they either ran out of their eggs, or they had failed IVF attempts, or they were of pretty advanced maternal age, and sometimes even in cases where women are young but, like I said, multiple failed attempts, or they may be having premature ovarian failure. And there are all sorts of issues that you potentially can face, due to which you may not be able to have a healthy pregnancy or a child of your own. But that doesn't make you less of a mother. When I was embarking on this journey, I had this fear because I remember when a couple of doctors told me also that. You can potentially, if nothing works, you can potentially think of donor eggs. And they said it very casually, but that thing just stuck in my mind. And I was like, what? What do you mean by that? I mean, at that time, it felt like a personal failure for me. I'll be completely honest with you. I felt like, does it mean I'm not fertile enough? Does it mean I can never have my own biological child? Because those things are so ingrained in us, having our own biological child. This is my child, this is my genes. Yes, I understand that's a natural desire, instinct, for every one of us, be it male or female. Most of our female, because I am a female myself, and I totally understand and relate to that feeling. But what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to challenge that why you think like that. What I'm trying to help you understand is that if plan A doesn't work, there is absolutely no harm in looking at plan B. It may not come immediately to you. You may need a little bit of counseling. You may need a little bit of education. You may need a little bit of preparation, mental and emotional preparation, to really accept that route. And there is a famous term which is known as epigenital. So, what epigenital means is that a mother who carries a child in her womb for 9 months, the kind of environment she gives to the child, that determines a huge or a significant proportion to how the child will turn out to be. Yes, genetics matter, but when the child is born, and even when you are carrying that child in your own womb, the kind of emotional connection you might feel with that child, or the kind of warmth you will feel when the child is there in your arms, I think at that time nothing will matter as much whether this is through a donor eggs, because eggs are just part of a cell. They create an embryo at a later stage, and it's in your womb when that little embryo turns out to be this living being, and you have brought that child, you have given birth to that child. So I think of it like that. And like I said, I haven't experienced it myself yet, but I've read countless number of stories and of women who found happiness through that route. And I feel that rather than trying to push yourself, rather than trying to just, because IVF can be hard, it can be really hard. And I have experienced it myself, so I know it can be financially, not even financially as much, but emotionally and physically, it can just drain you out. And especially after repeated attempts, it can take a lot of toll on your body. So rather than trying to push yourself, or rather than trying to be so hard on yourself, try to think of plan B in life, right? It's not a bad option. It's an absolutely normal and a good option, because that might give you a chance to become a mother and experience motherhood. So I would highly encourage that, if you are somebody who is struggling, or if for whatever reasons, like I said, you have to resort at plan B, don't be too harsh on yourself. It's completely normal. Accept that child as your own. And even things like adoption are always there. Even though I haven't studied too much about adoption yet, but I know of people who have, again, found happiness as parents in choosing that path, because for whatever reasons they couldn't have their own biological child. But like I said, that doesn't make you less of parents. So once you start having that mindset, it will release so much of pressure from you, that societal expectations, that traditional norms, that this is how it should be, and blah, 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 and all of that. I feel it's so important that we release ourselves of these preconceived notions that we have of set conventional paths that this is how it should be. Families can come in all structures. You never know how you would be blessed, and you might look back and realize that that was the best decision you can take. So I'm still in this journey. I'm still processing a lot of things, but at the same time, I wanted to share with everyone what I am feeling and the lessons that I have learned. I hope it might give you a ray of hope in your own life. And like I said, I think everything is perfect if you think it's right in your mind. So I completely understand how hard it can be, because for me it has been extremely hard. As a single woman, I am navigating all these challenges in my life, but I also, whenever I think of motherhood, whenever I think of, once I have a child in my own arms and kind of mother I would be, I think it just makes this journey so much worth it. But I understand there can be a lot of people out there who may be struggling in silence. I hope this message gives you some ray of hope, that you are not in this alone. There are a lot of people I know who have faced similar challenges. And like I said, don't be too harsh on yourself because this process in itself is very harsh. So let's give ourselves some grace. It's not the end of the world. Yes, it's very, very significant step in anyone's life. But like I said, there are ways. Uh, don't be too hung up on plan A in life. Explore plan B, explore plan C, explore plan D, whatever, plan E, F, G, whatever. But the more options you know of, the more you will feel at ease in your life. Okay. So with that note, I'll take your leave, and I will see you the next time. Bye bye.